I think, I mean, obviously, the main purpose of writing is to share with the reader. Or I would say that I certainly get, so to speak, quite a lot from the practice of writing as well, because it just kind of gives the ability to share a part of yourself that maybe there's really no other good way of doing it. You can talk with a few friends. You can communicate things in different ways. You can write social media posts. Like, I don't know, there's all kinds of ways of sharing a message or sharing yourself. But when you write a long form thing like a book or a novel or whatever, it's a more complete way of sharing that sort of thing.
Welcome to the Willpower Podcast. All right, Chris, how are you doing today? How are things
Doing
going?
well. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
Of course. Let's go right into your fiction endeavors because I am endlessly curious about that. I am very fascinated by it, like whenever anyone writes fiction, because I feel like, I mean, if you scroll LinkedIn, like half of the people posting have like a book that they've written, but it's always like a self-help or business development or some kind of like something like that or sales or whatever.
Yep.
And so whenever I hear like fiction just stands out when I see that someone who isn't like you're not like a full-time author, but you still do this. It's very interesting. So tell me about like why you even started doing this. And you do it with your wife, correct? You wrote books with.
Correct.
Okay.
So yeah, co-author of a dystopian fiction trilogy with my wife Cassandra. Um, yeah, so I guess it's kind of an interesting story in the sense that when we were first married, we didn't have kids yet, and it was just like a lot more free time, I would say, than we do now. And we basically in a summer, our first summer since we were married, wrote this novel. And it wasn't really dystopian yet. It wasn't really at all good in our estimation at this point. But we wrote this novel. We had this draft. We had this manuscript. And then over the period of 12 years from when it was first written until we actually published it, we just chipped away at like improving it, writing through the process of writing and rewriting it and all these things like that. So we basically got to the point where we had a book that we were very happy with at the end of that 12-year period. So that kind of explains, I guess, what we did in terms of the why. Like we felt like we had stories to tell. We felt like we wanted to share, kind of our point of view in life in a way through our fiction, through our writing, but in a way that was more about the writing and the story and the entertainment and the value behind it that the reader would get, and not just like some sort of allegory or something that just like top down like tells people what we think about life. So, but yeah, I think like you were saying, a lot of people write self-help books on LinkedIn. They'll be promoting their business book or their latest marketing book, or I'm in marketing, so a lot of sales books, marketing books, stuff like that. We felt like we could communicate what we wanted to communicate best through fiction.
So first of all, how do you write a book with someone? Like, is there ever like, are there challenges where you're like, no, this is how it should be? And they're like, no, it's not. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, and even more so when it's your wife, right? So
Yeah.
no, I mean, it's I always wondered that too, like when I see like I mean, it's usually like nonfiction books that are like written by two or three authors or something like that, and usually it's like each one gets a chapter, I don't know, whatever. But in this case, it was very interwoven. Like, so basically what we would do is one person would write a scene or like well, I guess first of all we would discuss the plot. We would discuss like the big picture of like what we wanted this book to be about, what the plot would be, sketching out from start to finish, like that sort of thing. And then we would, so we had like discussions about that. And then it would be like, okay, you write this scene, I'll write that scene, then we'll edit each other's work. So a lot of like kind of going back and forth between like one person taking the lead on writing, the other person taking the lead on editing, and then vice versa. So yeah, we made it work. A lot of Google Doc, edits, and kind of going back and forth in the Google Doc as well as just live, like discussing it. But it was an interesting process for sure.
It's almost like an improv game. I took my first improv class last year.
Did you?
And
Yeah.
it feels
Awesome.
almost like that. It's like, okay, you write this one and then
Yeah, yeah, you go back and forth
I'll see what
between
happens on the next one.
right.
That's very cool. How much did the published one, did it bear any resemblance to the original manuscript, or was it all kind of just like chipped away? I forget that one. What's the ship, like where all the pieces get taken off and replaced?
Right. Yeah, I forget that too, but yeah, and in this case it was like, I don't know, like the germ of it was there. Like, the character, a few of the character names were the same, the characters, some of the characters were the same, but like I would say it's like 10% the same. It was very, very different. Yeah. It was actually like a more of like a superhero almost, or like good versus evil superhero type thing originally. And then we're like, no, let's make it dystopian. So it's like it's more focused on the outer conflict of like what's going on in the political scene, or like just the greater like geopolitical sort of thing in this world that we built. And then the underlying story kind of went from there. That was like somewhat similar, but anyway, yeah, lots of revisions, lots of changes. Yeah, we got it to where we wanted it to be.
How hard is it to weave like your own ideas or philosophies into a novel without coming off too contrived, without like prescripting too much?
It's tough. I think that was also the thing that we changed a lot was the original draft was like much more just, you know, this is like just kind of laying it out like this is like characters would kind of have like long soliloquies, like just saying what we wanted them to say and kind of getting across their point of view and stuff like that. In the actual published version, I think it's, especially in the second and third book, but also even in the first one, it's much more subtle. I would say, you kind of I get the idea of what's going on, but it's not as direct. So, but I think that when readers like read a book that is just like so over the top in terms of like trying to push a point of view, the story should come first, and then the point of view should come second, not the other way.
Yeah, I love Ayn Rand, but there's a chapter in Atlas Shrugged that's like 100 pages long. Have you read it?
I have not, but I'm familiar.
Okay. Yeah, there's like a 100-page chapter of the main character just doing like a radio broadcast, just like a speech, and it's
Right.
so long, it's insane. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it is a little forced, in my opinion, in that
Sure.
context where it feels like it stops being fiction really, takes away from the narrative and the story of it all.
Yep, yep,
So you mentioned doing this before having kids. What which I'm assuming means you have kids, we haven't actually talked about that, but
yep.
assuming I'm correct, what is it like to have children? Like, what is that experience like?
Yeah, so I know I was listening to another one of your episodes with Andy Leonard, and I was actually on his podcast too, so I kind of got to talk to him directly as well. But I know he talked about fatherhood and like having a couple of kids, and how it like shifted so many things for him. That totally resonated with me. I actually have 6 kids, so like it's like even more so. And I wouldn't say even more so, but like because once you add more and more, it kind of like I guess less and less of a disruption, sort of. I don't know how to describe it,
It's
but
just another
a lot of
one.
people say that it's like once you go from 1 to 2, it's a huge shift, but then from 2 to 3 is a huge shift, but then after that, it's like you know, because everything is kind of organized towards a big family. So you just, whether it's 5 or 6 or what, but anyway, so I guess what I'm getting at is like, yeah, it does put a huge strain on your free time, I would say, but also it creates a lot of structure for being able to, do things like what we did with the book. I mean, we did vast majority of it after we had kids, and actually in a lot of cases after we had a lot of kids. But yeah, so you kind of you're able to structure your time, so you're not. I think I listened to another episode where you had on a D1 athlete or a couple of D1 athletes, and they're talking about the structure of being an athlete in college. And I would say having a lot of kids is somewhat like that because you just have so many things you need to do to stay on top of them and to help them and to take care of the family and do all these things. And so that structure kind of like creates the space for having the pursuit of certain things like writing fiction or I don't know, hobbies and things like this, where it is you kind of just like have you have like you're able to schedule your time so that everything kind of fits in its place. rather than just kind of having like doom scrolling and I don't know what things that like you just kind of cut out the things that are wasting time. Essentially, I would say.
Yeah, I had that experience with so I left my job in August and I've been working on a mobile app ever since. And I did an ultra marathon in December and there was a period
Wow.
leading up to that where I was just like I had to just train so much. It was like 1 to 4 hours every single day of running.
Wow.
And that just like it was the exact same thing you're talking about where it's like this has to fit in. Okay, where does work fit in? And then I also did a meditation retreat a while back and so I meditate 2 hours a day. So then that has to fit in. And it's like when I have all these different like little chunks that have to be taken, it's like I really focus on okay, what's left and what can I do with this time to make it the most meaningful. So
Yep. Exactly.
I definitely understand how the scheduling, yeah, having limitations actually can make more of it sometimes.
Yes.
So, in terms of a writing practice, like, what do you feel like you get from writing?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, obviously, the main purpose of writing is to share with the reader. So, kind of the goal is to give. However, I would say that, I certainly get, so to speak, quite a lot from the practice of writing as well, because it just kind of gives the ability to share a part of yourself that, maybe there's really no other good way of doing it. You can talk with a few friends, you can communicate different things in different ways. You can write social media posts. Like, I don't know, there's all kinds of ways of sharing a message or sharing yourself. But when you write a long form thing like a book or a novel or whatever, it's a more complete way of sharing that sort of thing. But I mean, obviously, like we have a blog as well, so we'll post shorter form blog posts or other things like that. So there's lots of ways, ways that we'll communicate or do writing. I think especially in the three books, it's like a good way of just sharing who you are, and it's really like it's quite meaningful, I think, in the end to kind of have this feeling of accomplishment, but also of like, this message is getting out there as well.
It's weirdly intimate. Like, in my own experience, I've never written an entire book, and I've never, I write a weekly Substack, and it doesn't go out to that many people. It's more of like a
Hmm.
writing practice for me, and just knowing that some people read it is, like, enough for me to just keep me
Yeah.
accountable and make sure I continue doing it, and there are some times where I, like, see a name on the list of subscribers, and I'm like, "Oh, shit, that person's been reading all these." And it's just like, I am yeah, it's very like, it's a very cool thing that you can kinda just, like, lay yourself out and then just kind of let it out into the world and let other people see these things that you thought up or that came to you.
Exactly.
Um, yeah. So that's I can also relate to that. Do you find it hard do you ever feel like you get writer's block or like particular resistance to creative work in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think that does happen to everyone. I would say we kind of had quasi writer's block for those 12 years because, I mean, we were working on it, but it would kind of be on and off. And like right now, we're actually kind of in a little bit of a hiatus where we have another book planned. We started the first chapter, but we're kind of like, we just had our sixth child. Maybe we'll take a break for writing for just a little bit. I think we'll get back into it, but it's just we're not exactly sure how soon. But yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily call that writer's block because we just made a decision not to do it. But there were times in the writing of the three novels, especially the last two, because the second and third were written in 9 months each, whereas like I said, it was like 12 years to produce the first one to where we wanted to be. But in those like 9 months, yeah, there definitely would be like a week or two at a time or whatever. It's just like, where do we go with this? But I think it helped to have two people because it's less likely to have writer's block for both people at the same time versus just one or the other, and one of them can kind of like help spark the other or whatever. So it's kind of a unique process of producing a novel as a team rather than as an individual, I would say too.
How much of the process is like writing the original or like writing the story versus editing and revising?
Like getting the first draft
Like
out there and then versus like
not
making it better?
necessarily the first draft, but how much of it is like generating, like creating something new, like adding
Okay.
on to the story versus narrowing down what happened or adjusting?
Yeah, trying to like put percentages on it. It's kind of hard to know, but I would say it's like I don't know. It could be as little as 30% new stuff, and then it's just like polishing, 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 like getting it really, really where you're happy with it. I think that's true of a lot of writing, whether it's nonfiction, fiction, whatever, is not just about like getting everything out there and then hitting publish. Like the best writers, at least, really meditate on their work. They really polish it. They really revise it. They're going back. They have other people look at it. The editors give feedback. We had developmental editors look at the books as well, so they were able to provide feedback before it actually was published, and we made a lot of changes based on a lot of good feedback we received from them. So yeah, so it's kind of like an iterative process, I would say. It's definitely not, just write a story and that's it. Like it's very complicated in that sense.
Do you find do you like, is it equally satisfying to do the editing part, or do you tend to I feel like the cliche is like people hate editing and no one wants to do that part, but what's your experience
Yeah.
with that?
I mean, I enjoyed all of it, to be honest. So like I really just liked getting it to where it was like, okay, well that's like so much better now. Or like, you get a certain satisfaction with like just yeah, making it to where it's like just next level, quality, because you can just get the basics down, but then if it's not revised and improved upon, kind of like, I don't know, just it's not going to be where it needs to be. So that was something that, I mean, I remember one of the for the first book, like several years ago, I was working on a scene actually on a train. So I was on a train to New York City. The book actually takes place in New York City, so it's kind of ironic. But we were living in Albany, New York at the time, was taking the train down to New York. And I just remember like I just had this spurt of inspiration, wrote the scene. I think we did not have to revise like almost any of it. So like, but that's rare. Like usually it's like, um you write something and then it goes, like I said, it was like 12 years of iterative work to get it to where it needed to be. That's not typical. Obviously, we did the other two much faster, but I'm just saying, like, as an example, it definitely requires a lot of work sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of touching up. It's interesting. It kind of parallels to building. So me building the app. I've been working with a friend for the past month or 2 months, and he's a UX designer, and so he has like a
Great.
whole different perspective, and it's been excellent to have that. Like when I first was building it, I was like, just like kind of build it as I go and just figure out where things fit in and make it try and make it look good. And there's
Hmm.
an infinite difference between that and actually designing it from the get go. Um, and when I first started working with him, I was used to just, okay, I just kind of build it and put the place pieces where they go. And so the first run through was like, it looked close to the design, but there were lots of little things that were off and lots of little pieces that were just like
Okay.
slightly over, too big, or not quite where they were supposed to be.
Yep.
I felt a lot of resistance to going through that and like perfecting and making things exactly how they should be. When I finally kind of just like bit the bullet and did it, it was a very satisfying experience. It's not as much movement, but it's like the those little corrections at the end where it all comes together. There's something to that, and I would expect that there's something similar in writing when, like, yes, you're not coming up with the idea in the moment, but you are narrowing it down until it really fits exactly what you're looking to communicate.
Exactly.
Okay, big question. What makes your life meaningful?
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked a lot about creativity. I would say that creativity kind of writ large. So, like you're talking about, being able to make an influence on other people's lives in some way, or just, obviously like the being a parent or being a husband or being, a friend or all these sorts of things. Like, I think the relationships make my life most meaningful of various kinds. And then, yeah, just being able to have like engagement with these different people in my life throughout different means, whether it's conversation or just shared life or whatever. Like, I think that's probably what makes my life the most meaningful. I would say.
How do you maintain relationships with friends having such a busy family life?
Yeah, it's tough. So actually, something that kind of helped is I work remotely, which you think like that's like not going to answer this question very well, but
We're moving in
I
the wrong direction.
Yeah, exactly. But I belong to a co-working space with that's like just a small co-working space with like 5 or 6 guys that I'm close friends with. And so it's like I go there a couple days a week. I'm able to spend time with them while I'm working and kind of like pop in and out. And it's just kind of creates like this community among, I mean, kind of a wider community. And then the other thing that we do as a family is we actually host a game night once a month. So we have like, I don't know, 8 or 9 families on the list that we know. Some have one kid, some have no kids, some have a lot of kids. Like it's kind of a mix. And then we just have them over, one evening a month and we play games and we just, kind of have a potluck dinner and stuff like that. So it's just a way of like having that community. And like those guys, especially like the fathers of those families, tend to be like the ones that I'll get together with for lunch or I'll, do whatever. So it just kind of creates this community of friends that we have as family. And then also, like I said, the co-working space as well. And there's some overlap there too, but
Yeah, I think routine really helps for me at least in
yep.
terms of like I don't have a big family. I have a girlfriend and we have our hopes and dreams for the future, but at the
Yep.
moment I don't have any kids, no obligations in that sense. But
Hmm.
I still find it difficult to like there are some people in my life where I'm like I wish I saw this person more. I wish I was like deepening our relationship, but it just doesn't like I just forget or it just doesn't like I don't know, I don't
Yes.
just have the spark like, oh, I should go try and hang out with this person. And I think having like routines built in with people makes that so much easier for me because then I don't have to remember to reach out and I don't have to think of it. I just like, oh, on Saturdays, I used to have a group of guys and at the time, we all had like 9 to 5 jobs. And then on
Hmm.
Saturdays, we would meet up and all work on our little like side hustles, whatever each of us was working on.
Nice.
And yeah, it was just a routine. It was like every weekend. There wasn't like any scheduling because we always knew, okay, Saturdays at 10 is when we meet. And yeah, it works so much better than trying to impromptu schedule hangouts all the time. It's a lot easier when they're built in. So
Definitely.
I love the game night idea. I just actually had a game night with a bunch of friends at my place. And that was, yeah,
Nice.
that's a good one.
Awesome.
So when you think about like these, yeah, what makes your life meaningful, like your purpose, your drive, mission, whatever you want to call it. What are the important, like small daily actions that support that thing? Like support what you actually are trying to achieve in your life?
Yeah, so I mean, we didn't get into this yet, but I liked practices like you of meditation actually. So my version of it is a little bit more like kind of like a prayerful meditation. So I'll have like quiet time, I'll maybe have some reading that I'll do or something like that to kind of help my meditation. But like just scheduling that in the morning and sometime in like afternoon, evening or whatever. Like just having that built into my day is really huge for me. I also just like having like yeah, some sort of practice of like reading a book that would help me with those sorts of things. It could be the Bible, it could be something else. So yeah, so that whole, kind of plan that I have for my life of like various practices throughout the day, the week or whatever, has definitely helped ground me in that. I would say some other things I do is also I guess a little bit of what I don't do. So like this is not a requirement for anyone else obviously, but like I don't do caffeine. I would do very limited sugar. I have I try to recently, like 3 or 4 months ago, turned my iPhone into a dumb phone by removing the browser and email from it. So it's like, I can't waste time on my phone as nearly as much. I mean, there's like nothing to do on it, so so like I just use it for like the basics. I downloaded your app actually a few days ago, so
Nice,
like
nice.
that's on there. Like I can do that, but I'm not going to be doom scrolling on your app, obviously. So it's not going to waste time. But and I really enjoy it, by the way. It's been really good.
Thank you. I'm very excited for you to see the next version. It's like
Awesome.
night and day.
Awesome. Yeah. I know there's like an AI component that I noticed, but yeah, curious to see what was.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I did, I think it's called Dumbify or something.
Yep.
It's an app, um,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's Android and iPhone. I have an iPhone, but I didn't
Yep.
know, do you have an Android?
I have an iPhone.
Okay, and you can remove email?
You can remove email in your browser as long as you have someone else to have the password to put it back. So
Okay,
my
okay.
wife has the password. I don't know what it is. I did the same thing for my wife's phone. I know her password. She doesn't know it. And neither of us have like, yeah, browser, email, like, or any other app that we want to get rid of. We took them all off and we can't add them back on without the other person helping.
Did you guys mutually come up with this idea, or was one of you guys kinda leading the effort?
It was really both. Yeah, it was pretty mutual. Like we were like looking like my wife was looking at like the light phone or like some other phones. We actually bought a light phone and then we returned it because we figured this out as a better option for us at least. But yeah, we were both like trying to figure it out. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I can give up XYZ app that I have on my iPhone for work or this, that, and the other thing. And then she was like, I don't know if I could do this. So we basically figured out like, okay, well we'll pare down to the apps that we actually use and we're not going to waste time on and we get rid of everything else. And it's just, if you need to check your email, use a computer. If you need to use an internet browser, use a computer. Like you're not going to
Right.
be wasting time. So
Yeah, that's a really good I yeah, I'm thinking about it now. That might be my Yeah, so I mentioned Dumbify, that's what I've set up on my phone, and
nice.
I have it with the grayscale, and then it's just like it basically lists like you set up, your shortcuts so that
Okay.
it's just a widget on your home screen that just has a list of your apps. So it's like messages, phone, camera, and then you can
Gotcha.
add whatever you want on there. And then no app icons anywhere.
Oh, wow.
Nothing's fun. It's all just like very boring. You just tap messages and then it opens up your messages.
Gotcha.
And yeah, that's significantly helped. I talked about one on a solo episode, which is more of a habit less than like a phone hack itself, but
Hmm.
leaving the phone in one place in my house, that has made a huge difference, not getting in the habit of, like, always carrying it around with me, having it in my pocket at all times. Like, when I'm home, it's just in its place.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm very much on board with those. Caffeine, I have to say, that's the one that I keep getting sucked in, I can't stay away. I quit coffee last year, so I think it was last year, it was the longest time I had quit. It was from, like, August 2024 until maybe like April of last year or March. And
Yep.
then, yeah, man, I just can't fully. And I also, the hard part is I can't decide whether or not I like truly want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause there's a spark that it gives me and it brings life to work. And it's like a
Hmm.
very exciting thing for me. But then at the same time, it's so quick to become a dependence. And then it gets to a point where like, okay, taking a day off caffeine is like a death sentence. Like it means that day is gonna kinda suck because I'm gonna
Right. Right. In
feel
the short
crappy
term.
and yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a hard one. Hard one for me because again, I don't know if I want to quit and yeah, but kudos to you for keeping away from it.
Yeah. Sure.
What is something you're currently struggling with?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned the low sugar thing. I'm actually struggling. So that's a relatively recent thing. I just started doing that like maybe like 5, 6 months ago, maybe. Where like I actually like quantified it. So I tell myself I will not have more than 8 grams of sugar per meal. But, like usually it's like for like a dessert or something, maybe for dinner or something after dinner. Yeah, so I quantified it that way. However, I still struggle with like, okay, well, maybe I can have two of these things that actually have 8 grams each, or I don't know, whatever, things like that. I usually stay away from like the big ticket items or like a big like dessert, like a cake that has like tons of sugar in it or ice cream or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But like I'll like cheat, quote unquote, cheat by like saying to myself, oh, I'll only have like two of this thing. I know it has more. I don't know, whatever, stuff like that. So I'm kind of like struggling with like I know it's not like a big struggle, but I noticed that if I have too much sugar, it just like short circuits me a little bit. Like it's actually for whatever reason, like causes problems with me. I know that's not the case with a lot of people, but for me at least, like it's a problem. So like, there actually are consequences if I have too much sugar. So it's definitely a good thing to stay off of it. But I still just struggle with like committing to it so that, everybody else is having a big dessert. Well, I'm over there like just having like a banana or something. I don't want to be the only one left out. So sometimes that kind of can be like a certain kind of social pressure. You go over to someone's house, they serve dessert. What do you do? Stuff like that. So it's been an ongoing struggle the last few months. But anyway, I think upward trajectory is still good. It's just kind of like, getting there. So
I have a rule that I don't eat dessert. Like I don't eat any yeah, no dessert, no like quote unquote sweets. I'll occasionally have like sugar-free stuff because then I can that's my trick. It's like, oh,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
sugar-free, I can eat that. Um but yeah, and it sounds like I'm like disciplined, but it's really that like I know I have a problem and I know if I like
right,
I had that exact experience last week where I was at a friend's. He had a few couples over for dinner and then they had dessert after and I was like, I don't want any. And it's like if I eat that dessert, I'm probably gonna like it's gonna go off the rails. I'm gonna eat dessert the next day. I'll probably like stop on the way home. There's no limits to
sure, sure,
where that goes. And so for me, it's just like the whole elimination is easier than moderation. Like I'm bad at
true.
moderation and I don't want to eat sugar, so it's just got to be a no no, none of it.
Yep.
And I also admire people who are able to. Like my girlfriend can we went on a cruise and they so every night we like would have their dinner and they would have like different desserts and she would get like multiple desserts and just like try a bite of each one and I'd be like, okay. And meanwhile, I would be just like, eating the entire thing. There's no way I would stop at one bite.
Right, right, right.
But yeah, so it's a noble struggle, the struggle to to limit sugar. Do
Yeah.
you count like all sugar or is it added sugar? Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, I just like if there's a label and I can see how many grams of sugar it has. So for example, like I don't know, dried mangoes may have like tons of sugar, even though it's just fruit, like it's not really a quote unquote dessert. So I'll probably like stay away from that even.
Okay. And that's because of the like physiological effect you notice?
Yeah, it's just like for my mood or for like just in general, it has a bad effect on me typically. And I did for a while actually do what you do, which is complete abstinence from any sugar. And then after a while, it's just like, well, I don't know. If I can stick to the moderation, like I think it'd be better. So that's
Yeah.
where I got this 8 gram thing. It's completely arbitrary. I just made it up based on like, you know, what seemed like, okay, well, this like seems like it's a good amount of sugar based on like specific things I had that had like around that amount. It's completely arbitrary, but at least I kind of drew a standing line and I'm like, okay, well, if I don't do this, it's fine. If I do, et cetera. So, but it's an ongoing challenge for sure.
Right, right. Yeah, I definitely know the struggle of first trying to like define a rule. Like how do I make a rule for myself so that I don't go off the deep end and also like the ongoing subtle adjustments or pushing the line or
Yep.
negotiating with, oh, well, I could have 2 of them today because that's only 12 grams or whatever. Um, yeah. Or the other one I find when I set too many rules is I like do as much as I can up to the rule. Like an example would be when I've done like fasting and like I used to do intermittent fasting every single day from
Sure.
like 2 to 10 or what. I think I would just do 2 p.m. until whenever I went to bed.
Okay.
That some days I would know I'm gonna be so hungry in the morning, so I'm gonna take advantage of this evening and I'm gonna eat way more. And so it's like I take advantage of the fact that this rule exists, and so now I'm gonna like make the most of it. And so it almost works
Yep.
backwards in some ways
Sure.
because um yeah, it's like I'm rebelling against like, okay, I'll follow the rule, but I'm gonna do something bad in the
Yeah,
within the rules.
I get it.
Okay, let's bring this to a close with one more question. What does your dream life look like?
Yeah, so dream life would be really what I have now. I think that sounds cliche, but I'm very happy. I feel very fulfilled with my family, with my life of faith life, and with my friendships, and a lot of things we already talked about. I know there's these little struggles with sugar and I don't know whatever like that we all have, but yeah, I mean, I think the life I have now as a published author is all these things like that, and my job. Yeah, it wouldn't really change much. So very, I think it would look like a lot like what I have now.
Awesome. That's very good to hear. Yeah, I like that, and I'm happy for you that you found that place in your life.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap this up. Do you wanna just, like, shout out your books or anything else that you have going on that you might wanna share with people?
Yeah, so the trilogy is called the Shadows of Freedom series by CNC Spellman, and you can check us out at spellmanbooks.com. I'm also on LinkedIn as well. Just search my name and publish some stuff on there too. So yeah, happy to connect with anyone.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Chris. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk.
Yeah, happy to.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.